Let me tell you how it works, because what you just said is that the parenting is, and I hear this everywhere, and everybody's actually holding parenting sessions in the last 2-3 years, and I've been to a lot more than I should have been. Whenever I go to a parenting session, and whenever I see anybody talk, especially parents talking about this, they're talking about reward and punishment modeling, and that's what's generally known as a parenting model, and the way you're going to reward and the way you're going to punish, and when you were supposed to reward and when you're supposed to punish. See, both of these are psychologically supposed to be unexpected behaviors, and they are psychologically unexpected, because if you're always in a state of reward, then you're not in a state of reward, because then there is no reward, because you're always in a high state of something. Reward is when there's a high level of happiness than the normal state that you're always going to keep in, and that's the normal state where parenting actually gets most affected. People think punishment or reward, and the pendulum actually never stops in the middle. This is not how parenting is done, and that's not how parenting is going to work. Punishment is way more lasting in your psychology and in your parenthood than any reward that you can ever give. The reward will have a half-life which is going to be not even 1% of the half-life of the effect of punishment. And that's what people don't realize. And I'm not even talking about the real problem here. Let me just tell you what the constructs of punishment, psychological constructs of punishment and reward is. And I can quote a lot of psychologists and tell you how expectancy theory actually works, and how Hertzberg actually defined how actual drivers of motivation are. But trust me, it's not. But that's not how it's going to. Let me finish. So that actually, let me tell you how you're going to place your parenthood. And when you look at the distribution of the whole parenthood, from whenever the child is born till he leaves you, or he becomes independent of you, you can see that the effect of rewards and punishment was on the two ends of the spectrum. The real job of the parent is between the reward and the punishment state, and that's where you need to understand that your kids are not thermometers. You're not supposed to make them thermometers. These are the states that make your kids thermometers. And let me tell you what a thermometer is. Thermometer psychologically is when a person becomes just an indicator of or an what's the word? The effector, the affectee of the state that he's in at any given moment. And most kids are just thermometers, and your job as a parent is to make them a thermostat that actually regulates. It's so powerful that it regulates the temperature of the room and the environment and the house and people around him. And that's what your job as a parent is. As soon as you're going to keep giving him rewards or punishment, he's going to become a thermometer, and he's going to just yield the temperature of the environment around him. And most of the parents should realize that the parenthood is between reward and punishment. And how do you actually regulate that? Is by declaring consciously the instruments, the tools and the routines consciously of when the house is in a normal state. And that's done through self-awareness of the father and the mother. Mostly the father, because the father actually, specifically in Pakistan, father is he has to work towards creating a positive environment, because he's the guy who enforces policy in the house. He's naturally going to have a negative state. When he's normal, he's just present in the house, and kids are going to be a little afraid. And that's something which you have to understand. That's not a good parenting model. If you're doing it by design of whatever you're trying to improve, then yeah, I can understand that. But just because if your presence, the whole house is negative, then you're not a good parent, because you're generating cortisol in the air. And cortisol is going to stop the growth and all the positive hormones of all the people in the house, especially kids. Kids' brains are not going to get the growth hormone because it stops when cortisol is in the veins. And that's the problem. Our normal state are not consciously designed by parents. And unless you consciously design of how the affectees behave when you're just normal, what is the culture of the house? The instrument of chaos. Even if you're trying to do good, you're an instrument of chaos because you're not by design. And people don't really know what the effect of their normality is inside the house. Most of the time it's not positive, because unless they're doing it consciously, it's not going to be positive. That is the job of two amygdalas inside the brain that generate negativity. That's the job of those two organs for survival. And you're the policymaker of the house. You're supposed to be disciplining the kids all the time. And when you're disciplining them, your job is to actually make sure that they stay negative about those boundaries. And that's something that you have to nullify through the normal state. When you're disciplining them, that's the punishment state. And that's something which these two pillars hold absolutely no significant value in the parenthood. Parenting is not done through carrot and stick. Parenting is done through being self-aware of what kind of normality that you have inside the house. And if you're not normal, you're going to raise abnormal kids. And virtues are only practiced by strong kids, strong human beings. You see all over the planet, whoever is practicing real virtues has an emotionally strong state from the house. Whoever cannot practice virtues, we Pakistanis cannot practice virtues. Why do you think we cannot practice virtues? Tell me. There's an emotional state of character is proportional to your emotional state. If you do not have a strong emotional state, you're not going to have strong character. And that's the bigger problem. Because our normal state of the house was cortisol based. And even if it was not cortisol based, it was not normal. It was not consciously driven by my father or my mother. Our fathers and mothers did not last an impression which we actually can fall back onto. Most of the time, Pakistani kids try not to be their fathers when they're in a normal state. Most of the kids that I'm actually talking to, parents all the time, they're actually consciously and subconsciously trying to do what their fathers didn't do, or trying not to do what their father was keep on doing. And this is a problem. This is between the two states of punishment and reward. This is what parenthood is all about. Parenthood is all about you as a conscious human being, and as a measure of you are the actual measure of you are supposed to be the thermometer all the time. Your kids are supposed to be raised up as thermostats. And if you're not a good thermometer, you won't be able to see what kind of temperature people are generating when you're around them. I hope this answers the question.